Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that we're going to talk about today is a random spotting of journalism from US News, which completely undermines and dispels all the lies and myths the gun control groups have been telling you to take your rights. Everything is going to be linked, and I need you to send this one out and watch all of this content because, like I said, it dispels it completely. And the content today is brought to you by Lear Capital. Now, we all know that a recession is either here or right around the corner, and while everyone is ignoring it, you can have the opportunity to prepare for it with silver or gold and function as a safe haven asset for your retirement accounts or just your stacking needs. I choose to do business with Lear Capital because I trust them and you can too. They have over 25 years in the business. They have thousands of 5-star reviews, and they have a 24-hour guarantee period. Make sure you call the phone number on your screen to inquire how silver and gold can safeguard your assets and retirement accounts going forward. Now, you have two options. You can either call the number on that screen or you can go to learlangley.com and make sure that you ask about the Precious Metals Investment Guide and if you qualify for $15,000 in free metals. Thank you so much to Lear Capital, and I hope you guys take advantage of at least the free information. All right, always, we are hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and making sure the notification bell is on. Thank you so much for helping me spread some freedom out here on these streets. But let me show you what we're talking about, my brothers and sisters. Because I'm going to show you a study, again, from US News, around guns. Listen to this. Study. Gun laws alone won't stop firearm deaths. An analysis of gun deaths among youth indicates laws can tamp down fatalities but won't get to the root of the problem. Root of the problem? I thought the whole problem was guns. If the guns didn't exist, we wouldn't have a problem. This is in US News, citing a study from the CDC. This is about to get spicy. Now, here's some underlying stuff as we go forward. You have to understand what they're talking about in a vulnerability index for this article to make sense. This is the actual one they linked, again, from the CDC. Let me show you a few of the things on here, and then we're going to get into what they say in this article, which, again, destroys gun control. So some things on the overall vulnerability. They have socioeconomic status, household composition and disability, minority status and language, housing type and transportation. Well, let's hit a few of the highlights. Starting at the top, below poverty, so that's income related, unemployed, income related, income, obviously income related, no high school diploma. So that's all education based. Okay, let's go down a little further. Something else that could be crazy and offensive if it wasn't from the CDC. 65 or older or 17 or younger, so that's the extremes of society. A civilian with a disability or single parent households. CDC, did you clear this with your HR, diversity, equity, and inclusion manager? Because that's very offensive. Of course, I'm being sarcastic because it's about the root of the problem, not about something that's our Second Amendment rights. Let's continue. You could be a minority or you could speak English less than well. That speaks back to education. Multi-unit structures, mobile homes, crowding, no vehicle, and group quarters. Again, that's going towards large group areas. So now that you know what makes something vulnerable, let me show you what they actually snuck out in a study which undermines all the gun control narratives. Allow me to continue. New research shows the death rate among young people from gun violence rose with the increasing level of social vulnerability within the communities where the incidents occurred, regardless of whether a state's gun laws were more permissive or restrictive. Have some more. You cannot refute that statement. This is a study citing the CDC. I don't know where else you go from here, gun controllers. Let's continue because there's a lot more. The analysis, published Wednesday in the JAMA Network Open, examined approximately 5,800 gun violence deaths that occurred from January 2020 through June 2022 among youth 10 to 19 years old, alongside a community classification in the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's Social Vulnerability Index. That's why I showed it to you. Now, this is during the pandemic. 2020 to 2022, when they said that everything was terrible and gun violence was on the rise and it's never been this bad except in the 90s, but they aren't going to show you that. Let's continue. The study found that communities with very high social vulnerability had a gun violence death rate among youth that was 11 times higher than the rate in communities that were at least socially vulnerable, measured at 13.3 deaths per 100,000 compared to 1.2 per 100,000. In total, there were 3,565 assault-related gun deaths among young people in the communities that were the most socially vulnerable, compared to 309 deaths in communities with low social vulnerability. Again, bringing up that chart, the things that the CDC is saying is its income level, its education level, its family security, and its housing. Notice what's not on that list is access to guns, is what the gun controllers will tell you. This is a problem of what's in our hearts and our minds and other socioeconomic factors. This is not a problem of our rights, but for some reason, the gun control groups say the exact same talking points against your rights every single day in and day out, but they ignore data like this, which gets to the root of the problem. It's almost like there's a corporation built around gun control, which has money and jobs and entire corporate structure. This is corrupt to the core. Let's continue. That's why I do these things. Anyway, here we go. Quote, "What is clear from our work is that regardless of the strength of gun laws in an area, the youth gun-related death rate is notably higher in the most socially vulnerable communities, meaning more kids are dying of gun-related violence in the most disadvantaged communities," said the lead study author. Now, we're going to pause on this for a second, and we're just going to remind you of a few other things that we've covered on this channel. The Democrats, particularly the gun controllers in the Democratic Party, have been passing laws in about 10 to 11 states that consistently increase the cost and financial burden on people accessing their rights. The reason that I get so animated about this is because you are pricing people out of their rights. And what you just said right here in the vulnerability index, because of income, education level, household status, and housing, you are literally preventing people in the most disparaged areas from defending themselves because you have your desires while you're sitting behind a gate and security. That's why this is so aggravating. But let's continue. I got one more thing for you because this should put all the nails in the coffins. But, we'll see if it does. Gun-related injuries became the top cause of death among children and adolescents in the U.S. in 2020. Wait for it. And the study reports that assault-related violence accounted for 64% of gun-related deaths among young people between the ages of 10 and 19. 10 and 19. You notice how they changed it from from deaths with children to deaths in adolescents because they were lying? Well, right here, 64% of them were assault and violence. That doesn't exactly sound like what they've purported it as, does it? This was a little spicier, but I don't like manipulation. It really makes me angry, especially when it's used to take rights of people. Anyway, that's what I got for you. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.